Hello and welcome to Code with JV. Today, I'm going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to teach you as much or as little as you'd like to know about the terminal. I've designed this course so that you can go as deep or as shallow as you'd like. Let's jump into it. I have also made some sample learning plans for you. So in the terminal deep dive, I've gone through and I've queued this up for know a little bit of computers, but not much about the terminal, and want to learn the terminal to become a faster developer. You can pick and choose the bits you want and adjust it. So if you are on WSL, you might want to tell ChatGPT that. If you're in the Mac terminal, you might want to tell ChatGPT, but it's all designed around the Linux terminal and they're pretty similar in all environments. Here we have the basic overview, here's command chains and filtering, etc. You can click on any one of them, and I've made a bit more of a module plan for each one. Here I have the AI tutor code, so copy. The link is in the description below about how to get hold of it. And I'm just going to say, hey, ChatGPT, please turn into a tutor. You can get the whole thing if you want, or you can just grab the module you particularly care about, like let's learn about command chains and filtering. Copy, paste it in. We can see it's module 2. So you can start to go, okay, let's learn about command chaining, etc. Teach me activity 1. And it will talk a little bit about the pipe command. So you can pick and choose this the way you like. What I'll be doing is I'll just go through and show you some of my favorite parts of the terminal that I think are useful for developers to know, and then you can refer back to this curriculum when you want to actually learn the stuff. So here's a terminal. I've started up a Docker instance, which is a way of doing a virtual machine on my computer. So it's a very simple, basic Ubuntu setup here. It doesn't have much set up at all, and I'll just go through now and show you some of my favorite things in the terminal. If I go like dev, and let's make another one. If you do a make dir -p, and we can go dev something else folder, like so, it has made all those folders up. And so when you want to make a nested directory using a -p flag, saves you a bunch of time. Also, if you're ever typing things in your terminal, always use the tab. So when I do tab dev, because there's only one folder here, it just auto-completes it. Something, one folder. So without even doing any looking around, the fact that it auto-completes all the way tells me that there's only one folder in there. If we make 2, like this, now I can go ls, dev, something. There's no slash on the end. That tells me there's a few more options. If I press tab twice, now it's showing me the different options that I can look at. So I can start to quickly navigate around. It also means you don't waste as much time mistyping things. The basics of ls, show me this folder, pwd, show me the directory I'm in, cd, move into the folder I care about, help you move around here. The other thing to pay attention to is this information in your prompt is highly configurable. When you set up your terminal, often you'll be installing plugins which will configure what this prompt looks like, but you can make it do what you want. By default, the tilde means your home directory, and then these other folders here are where you are currently. So if I do pwd, that tilde is the home JV, because that's where my home folder is, and this stuff is the folder I'm in currently. Another thing I love to do in the terminal, clear. I've been doing a bunch of stuff, mental reset, just clear away the gunk. Then cd, I'm also just resetting myself back to my home folder. It's a quick way of doing things there. We've made a bunch of folders. We've made folders quickly. We've used tab to explore them. We've done LSs, etc. Another thing I love to do is set up aliases to quickly take me to folders. Because if I'm in something like this, and let's go to the vanilla one, this is the folder I want to do work in. If every time I want to go into this folder, I type cd, all that stuff, it's just time and I have to remember it and so on. Instead, I could do something like alias. I will do something like the first couple of letters of a project. So if I've got lots of projects on my computer, I'll typically set up an alias for each one. And here we can do something like, naming things is one of the hardest stuff to do. What'll I do here? Alias, and I'm going to go demo equals, and I can go cd / dev something. Because I'm not doing a direct cd, I'm actually setting up an alias. I can't do a tab here. Folder, like so. And this is where we need to get our syntax a bit better. The idea of it is you can save a command where when I type demo, and if I go, and this is dev something else folder. Oh, see the else is mistyped. So I'm going to reset my alias here, and let's do this. And now demo will take me here, cd takes me home, And now I can type demo wherever I want, and I can just get back to my folder. It's like making a shortcut, but the shortcut is a command you type rather than a link you click on. And I love these. I use these all the time for my projects, and it just saves me a bunch of navigating around in the folder. The thing about terminals, though, is that I've gone and set this alias up here, and if I go and make a new terminal, my demo is no longer around. Often what you do for when you want things to happen automatically whenever you log in, there's these RC files. And these RC files, like the default terminal you'll be in Ubuntu is a bash terminal. That's the default one. And the way it works is that if there's a .bash RC, it will execute anything in this terminal when it loads up, such as and alias demo equals cd. Oh, can you remember what I typed? And the else was misspelled, right? Something like that, I think. When you do source and the file name, it's like quitting and reopening. And it executes this script, so it does the hello JV. But now, demo, what did I mess up? It's not something two, it's something vanilla. So I'm going to edit my bash RC file again. Get rid of the two. Source. So I don't have to quit and re-enter. It's done this. Demo. Hey, my demo alias is now set up. And if you type alias, you'll see all the aliases that you have on your machine. So aliases, love them. Really good thing to play with. There was a whole bunch that I was doing there. So there was leaning on quite a lot of terminal concepts. We were changing directories to move around. We are using VI to open up a command. This is an editor in your terminal. I'll go into that in a bit. We were talking about variables which you can set in your bash RC and how you can auto execute stuff. So a lot going on. Go into the course if you want to learn more about any one of them. Oh, here's one of my favorite commands, cat. Just show me what's in a file without opening it up. You can just have a quick look at things. Another thing which is really powerful in terminals is you can start to take input and send it somewhere else. For example, PSAUX shows me all the processes which are running on this machine. It's a small machine and it's really only got bash for the terminal I'm on and then the PS command itself. If you run this in your terminal, you'll see tons of stuff. And what you can do is you can go PS pipe, which says take the output from this command, send it to the output of something else, grep, and let's just go bash. And here it's showing me the, it's filtered out the top, but because the grep bash has bash in it, it's showing up there as well. And again, no matter whatever I type, if you're grepping for something, you'll see the stuff you're looking for as well as the grep command itself. There are a couple of text editors that are available for you. Nano is the first one. So you can use Nano. And this is typically, hey, Nano is not in this one by default. If you ever want to install something in Linux, you're going to be, this will be different on the Macs, but the WSL and the terminal ones, sudo apt-get install the thing you want. And it will look to see if it knows anything about this editor. Now I've got Nano, I can look at bash RC, and here I can edit it in the terminal here. Up arrows, typing, etc. It's pretty intuitive. If you want to save things, Control X, and then yes. And then it will ask you what file name do you want to save, hit enter, and you've saved and you quit. That is often the most intuitive editor used in the terminal. Now if I go source.bashrc, you'll see it's got the changed file one in there. Another way of editing files is to use Vim. And this is a little bit unintuitive because once you go into it, you try and type something and it feels weird. It doesn't intuitively make sense. The main thing to know about Vim is it has a insert mode where when you type, it shows up in the page. And then it has a normal mode where when you press keys, it moves the cursor and does things like that. So J and K or up arrows will move the cursor around. The quickest way to get into insert mode, press I for insert. And you see down the bottom left, it's got insert, press escape. I'm not in insert, I'm in normal mode. And that concept, that's the trick to unlocking Vim. You can also just type :help and you'll get into the Vim tutorial, which is how I learned Vim. My first boss said, hey, here's 2 days, go learn Vim. Best decision ever. I love the editor. I use it a ton for most of my development environment. But it's a bit unintuitive. ChatGPT is really good at teaching this stuff. So you can ask it for Vim tutorials to your heart's content. Just remember, if you want to get out of it, colon and Q will quit. Colon WQ will save and quit. And it's another option for editing files. I'm just throwing things at you to give you a sense of the things, not because I expect you to remember this stuff. Use the AI tutor if you want to actually learn this. This is to give you a quick overview of the terrain. A really useful thing to do in your files is to essentially delegate up your config. Because here I've got an echo and so on. Say I want to organize these because they're getting really big. You've seen me type source and then a file name. I can type source and I could do something like aliases. And I could even put a dot in front of it, like so. That would make it a hidden file. Because when you do ls, see how my bash rc is not there? ls minus a, there it is. But also you're seeing some other things. So I can start to do things like touch.aliases, vi.aliases. So touch is to make a file, vi is to open it. This, I have put in an echo command. And if I go dot, oh, actually we've been using source. Dot is an alias for source. So instead of typing source bash rc all the time, I usually just do a dot. And now you see it's called my aliases are here file as well. And I can start to split up my code or split up my config so that all the aliases stuff lives in that folder. And there's actually some nice things you can do in Vim where you split windows. So I did a vsplit, and then I'm going to be editing the aliases file. And over here, what do we want? Move that one over here. That's aliases. I'm sourcing it. And up here, we'll keep the hello. So you can start to do things like that in Vim, but again, depends how much you want to learn of it. So now I can go dot bash rc and it loads everything, or I can go dot aliases and it just loads that complete part of it, as in we can get back into the demo folder. Those are some of my favorite terminal commands. There's a whole bunch more you can learn. How focused are you on learning the terminal? Because if you're coding a little bit and you just want to get things done, I just do a quick skim and expand your horizon of the things you know you don't know. So that when you bump into something like permissions, or you bump into something like Vim or text editors, you've heard of it before, you can start to make a choice of do you learn it or do you not. It's good to do a quick skim of the terminal. And then I'd say proactively, as you go about your learning, try and learn just a little bit more each week. Nibble away at learning the terminal can be a really good approach. If you're going to be coding a lot, maybe it makes sense to spend a couple of cycles or a couple of dedicated sessions just on deep dive on the terminal, because when you know that stuff, it comes to your hands a bit quicker when you need it, and you can save yourself a whole bunch of time throughout your development. Want to play with some more things? So one of the things you can do in your terminal is put environment variables. If we go to end like this, these are the variables that live in this environment. In the API lecture I did recently, you're dealing with API keys, and you can store them in your environment in a few different ways. Typically, if you do something like export, and they like to be capitals, but equals bananas, like so. Now if I type env to show me all the environment variables, you're going to see my var equals bananas. Here we can do some things we used before, such as the pipe for chaining. Typically, you'll have tons of stuff in your environment. If you want to see just some of them, you go, oh, what's it called? I can't remember. I think it had var in it. And you type env grep and the bit you want, and it will show you just that variable there. And you can do the same for the value. I think it had bananas in there, and you'll find just that one. Env pipe grep JV. What are all the things which reference JV? So these environment variables are really powerful for configuring your environment, because lots of different programs will reference these environment variables. A lot of things like Python and Node will look in the environment to say, am I in test mode? Should I be behaving in a certain way? When I compile stuff, am I optimizing for a development experience or a production experience? And all of these are often configured via environment variables. So you can start to have programs which behave differently based off the environment variables they've got. And when you do this export something equals something else, you are creating an environment variable. You can start to store these in files. Here, we have our aliases and our so on. I might do something like make a private. And often it's good to separate them out, because you will definitely not want this committed to Git history or anything else. And it is often good to commit some of your safe things to GitHub for your environment setup, so that when you go to a new machine, you can quickly get it back to the way you like to work in your terminal. I can start to do something like this. Let's stick with my var and strawberries, big bananas. So here's an export. I'm going to quit out. Now let's open the bash rc so it loads automatically. You can just do source and the file name to load up the configuration in that script. And now if I go to bash rc env we see that my var equals strawberries right here. Let's do another thing, and let's make a simple script. And so I'm going to go script.sh. Let's remind ourselves it's in shell. And here you can go, let's run the env command. So it's a simple script. If I go source script, it does the same thing. It's a way of packaging up a whole bunch of commands which you can use again later. Now, if I did something like my var equals bananas, and then I'm going to go .script, look at this. The environment variable is changed to bananas just for this execution of the script. And if I go env, it's still strawberries, it's untouched. So I've manipulated the environment for one execution of something. And that's what you can do when you do key equals value like this before running anything in your terminal. So if you're running stuff, this is often a way of tweaking the environment on the fly. Super useful, super powerful. I've tweaked the environment variable for that script. You can do a whole bunch of things in that script where you can start to just chain up a bunch of things. We haven't seen this before. Let's take this output and let's send it to myfile.txt. So here, if I now execute the script and I look here, I've got a myfile.txt. I can use cat to have a look at it. And here it's got what's in that environment. So you can quickly start to save things to files using the double arrows. If I run it again, it's got two environments here. Here you can see the first environment. Here you can see the second. And this is because I'm using the double arrows in that script. So if we look at the script.sh, I'm using those double arrows. If instead I did something like end single arrow, it's going to overwrite that file. So this is where you can either append something to the file with double arrows or overwrite the file with single arrows. And again, really useful for just doing simple automated things in your terminal. You can write code to do it, but you can also just do it with script quite easily. I think I'll show you one more thing and call it a day. If we look at script.sh at the moment, I have to type .script, which is okay, but it takes a little bit of... Instead, if I wanted to run this like a command, like if you run ls, what you can do here is let's turn this script into an executable file. If I take the script and I go move script and let's call it demo. Now it's still the same thing. I can still go demo. And well, it's hard to see what it's doing, isn't it? Let's change it. Demo, echo. And we don't need to keep doing that. So now demo, okay, we've got our simple demo script. I have changed it here. Wouldn't it be nice to just be able to type demo and call this? So if I go /demo, okay, it's not working. And that's because the script demo, it's not executable. It's got these here. This is the permissions. When you go ls-l, it will show you the permissions. I did LA, so it shows me all the dots. ls-l shows me the files and their permissions. Here, demo is not executable. It's readable and writable, and that dash there means it's not executable. So this one is showing me the permissions for the user, for the group, and for everyone on this computer. This harks back to the days where Unix machines were big multi-tenant and things where lots of people would have their usernames, they'd come in and they make stuff public for other people and interact with each other, think of a big university lab, etc. And a lot of Unix evolved in that context. And then Unix got cloned and turned into Linux, which has taken over the server's side of the web pretty much. So we've got demo. If I go change mod, this is how you change permissions, +X, everyone can execute it now. Demo, ls-l, you'll now see that demo has got these X's. And now I can go /demo. Hey, it's executing my script. That's nice. The last thing is, I want to just type demo to make this work. Oh, that's my alias. That's not going to work, is it? Let's go back to here, demo, and I'm going to just call it hi. Okay, it's still executable. I can still do it, but I want to type hi to have my script go. And Bash is going, I don't know what that command is, which is why I have to go /hi, which is saying, hey, the thing which is in this folder, execute that. And if I go into demo folder, for example, and I want to execute hi, I'd have to go like tilde for home, then hi to reference it. And it doesn't have a dot in front of it, like so. So I have to know where it is relative to where I am to execute my script, which can be a bit of a pain sometimes. If you look at this env variable, there's a special environment variable called path. And what this says is, if you ever type in a command and the terminal doesn't know what it is, look in this folder to see if you can execute it. then look in this folder, then look in this folder, then look in this folder, and finally this one. And so this is a place where you can see a whole bunch of things. If you go ls/bin, here are a whole bunch of built-in Linux things. So you can go, oh, what's du do, etc. And you can see that and type in du, and it's calling that script there. Du is a disk usage. So it can say, hey, this folder here, it's using 4 kilobytes, etc. If you just go $path, you can see all this stuff. And actually, if you go echo path, it was executing it when I did it there. If I do echo path, I'm seeing these folders here, which is a little bit like the same as going env grep like this. And so slightly different format, same information. Now what I can do is if I move my script into one of these folders, well then it is accessible anywhere in my terminal. ls user local bin, nothing in there. Let's go to my home directory, move my hi file to user local bin. I'm not allowed to do this because if you look at the permissions of user local bin, and you look at this one here, it's only the root user has permissions to write to it because that's the W here, the root user. Everyone else does not have permissions. They can just read it and execute it. So my user here, who am I? JV, doesn't have permission to do it. Whenever on your computer you want to like escalate your permissions, this is often where you use the sudo command. Hey, make me root just for this operation. So I'd go sudo move hi user local bin. That's a way of going into super user mode. Super user do is the name. And let's move it into there. Now it's going to say, what's your password? And now I'm just going to hit up arrow a few times till I find my L. And now you'll see that, hey, it's got a hi. And now I can type hi from here. I can type hi from here. I have basically extended my terminal with a script I have written, and it can be anything I want. And this is where you can really take your terminal into where you want to be. Ton of stuff going on here. We learned a little bit about, well, we didn't learn. I demonstrated a little bit about permissions. We saw a little bit more about scripting, so how you can change the permissions of something to make it executable. And we also saw how we can add it to our path variable. And knowing about the path, this is one of the key blockers of not understanding this can really get in your way with terminal stuff. But actually knowing what the terminal does when you try and execute something, I find that just gives you a bunch of tools to debug a lot more things a lot more confidently. So that's us for today. All the relevant links are in the description below. Give us a like or subscribe if you want to see more of this content. Happy learning.